Good afternoon, everyone. When I was coming here this afternoon, I was told that Springboard is the loudest crowd that we have in the country. So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm sure there are some Pescobas in the house. I'm also sure there are some tech/KNUSD guys and ladies in the house. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much to Comfort and Albert for having me here. It's an honor to be given this opportunity to talk to you. I love interacting with youth, and I'm hoping over the next 20 minutes, I can learn from you and you can learn something from me. And I'd like to say and recognize my colleague, Kofi, for delivering a fantastic session before me. As someone who's worked in technology for a while, I was amazed at how little I knew about or I know about technology. So thank you, Kofi, for taking me up and leaving me hanging. So I'm going to talk about life improvement. And what I want to do today is to talk about some life stories that I went through to illustrate a number of things that I've learned along the journey. So I'm hopeful and hoping that this is something you find interesting. So, immediacy versus uncertainty. And this is the first topic I'm going to talk about, just how the world today has changed for a number of us. And when you interact with people today, there's this sense of immediacy, which I believe the digital revolution has helped contribute to significantly. Today, you can basically request for something on different platforms, and immediately the whole world responds. The whole world sees what you're happening within milliseconds, microseconds. This sense of immediacy is affecting the way we think about leadership. And this is really what I'm going to talk about today. How does this impact the way we think about leadership today? And what sort of adjustments do we need to make? But before we go into that, I'm going to go into something that I call the fallacy of immediacy, which is essentially when we think about immediacy and we think about the digital world, yet we live in the real world on the other hand, but how that sense of wanting and needing things to happen immediately affects the way we think about our jobs, our roles, our demands, our growth, our ambitions, our path to success, and the definition for each of us as individuals in terms of where we want to go. As a young graduate from tech, I had a lot of ambition. I graduated as a civil engineer, but I never wanted to be a civil engineer. About 2 years into my civil engineering course, I discovered computers. And I decided that I wanted to do something in computers, but for those of you who know tech, you can't just change and continue. You have to start afresh. So I did graduate, and I was trying to figure out how to take that next step. So in thinking about that next step, something came up, and I put here opportunity versus opportunism. And when I was growing up, the word opportunism was largely used with a negative connotation. But I've learned a lot about opportunism and opportunity, and I define opportunity my own way, where opportunity is what's available, something you see. And opportunism is actually taking advantage of that opportunity, and it doesn't have to be negative. So I'll read a couple of phrases here. We're all exposed to opportunity in different ways. But surprisingly, and very surprisingly, only a few of us actually see the opportunity. And let me give you an example. I don't know how many people are in this room today, but today there is a lot of opportunity right here in this room, thanks to Springboard. But a lot of you are going to walk away from this room without seeing the opportunity. And this is what's sad about opportunity. As a young graduate from tech, I had decided that I wanted to do something in computers. I had never studied computers. I had never used computers in school. In my third year, in my desire to try to do something in computers, I decided that I was going to try to get an internship outside of Ghana. So I started writing application letters to institutions in the UK, civil engineering institutions in the US, and a lot of my classmates would make a lot of jokes. You know that guy in class who's just lost, you know? When we're looking for internships, we're looking at companies like Asafo Boakye and Partners, who always offer internships, construction companies in Ghana. And this young guy in the corner has decided that he wants to go and do an internship in the UK. And we all laughed. July 1997, I got an offer from a company called Taylor Woodrow, who happened to be the largest engineering conglomerate in Europe. And I was given an offer to come and do an internship. I probably sent about 14 or 15 letters to get this internship. So I left and went to the UK. And for 2 months in the UK, all I did was printing and binding. I learned nothing about computers, and I came back. So it was a very, very fruitful and beneficial internship. But, you know, I saw the bigger picture, okay? And in my mind, something triggered the thinking in my mind. And here I've put here, if we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Sometimes we limit the view in front of us by our own thinking. And sometimes we really have to change the way we look at things for the things that we're seeing to actually look different. So when I came back, of course, I didn't tell anyone that all I had done was printing and binding, but I applied back to them to get a full-time job, and I was offered a full-time job, and I went back to the UK to work for Taylor Woodrow. When I got there, my boss said to me, hey, this is when we're building the new financial district in the Docklands, in a part of the UK, for those who are not familiar. And he took me to this terminal called Amadeus, which was the precursor to AutoCAD, for those of you who are designers. And he said, I want you to design those piles. The Docklands was marshland. The substructure was 150 meters deep, and we're trying to build 60-story buildings, a 60-floor-story building for the HSBC Tower, the Barclays Tower. And I had to design the thickness of the piles, the length of the piles, and how to put these things on there. First of all, I didn't know what a pile was. And secondly, this machine in front of me, I had no idea how to turn it on, how to use it. I could do the calculation on paper, maybe if someone explained what a pile was, because that's what I had learned in school. After 3 weeks of being grossly frustrated and embarrassed, I quit. So here I have to quit or not to quit. But I saw something, right? I decided that I wanted to become an IT expert. And something dawned on me that, being a civil engineer was all well and good. But all industries were going to need people who understood technology in the very near future. And that's something that So I decided to fight my deficiencies by attacking my problem. So I quit to go and study at home. I didn't have a computer. I bought books. I studied all about computing. I'll go for interviews, and I will just recite things from the books. And I think the people who interviewed me thought I was amazing, even though they didn't give me the jobs. They must have thought I was amazing, because if they knew I was reading from books, I'm sure they would have given me the job. But anyway, I didn't get a job for 4 months. I was running away from my landlord. I couldn't pay the bills. And the low point in my life was when I was so broke that I decided to apply for a cleaning job at Marks & Spencer. I went for this job knowing that, as a civil engineer, I was very qualified. I had worked at Taylor Woodrow before. I should be able to do cleaning. I didn't get the job. Too often, we just don't want it enough. Those were break-in times where all my friends had fantastic jobs. Some of them were security men for the Stratford shopping center. Some of them were taxi drivers earning money. Friday nights, they would buy me Chinese and they would spread me. And they kept wondering, what is wrong with this guy? You went to school in Ghana, you've come to London, and you're looking for an office job. It doesn't work that way. But something in me kept me going, and I really wanted this break. I kept studying, I kept going for interviews. I did over 400 interviews, and I got one job offer. But that's all I needed, just one job offer with Electrolux. After 4 months, I got one job offer. And this is something someone told me. They said, Selim, if you want this enough, it would happen. And sometimes I think in this sort of new age, when you think about the fallacy of immediacy, when things don't happen when you want it to happen, we give up. We no longer have this stamina of going, of continuing to go, continue to battle, continue to challenge ourselves. We lose belief. We stop putting in the effort. The conviction somehow fades away because we no longer believe. We have this expectation of immediacy. That's what I mean by the fallacy of immediacy. Sometimes you have to hang in, and if you believe it enough, you will put what you need in, and it would happen. So this was something my mentor told me. I got that one job, and it changed my life. I don't even know why the guy hired me. It was a guy called Craven Taylor. And, I lied in that interview. I'd finished the interview, I had a job. But Craven said to me, for this job, Selim, you're going to be the project consultant for Electrolux UK, which means you have to be able to drive and go around all our offices in the UK to build our new IT network. And I said, no problem. He said, do you have a driver's license? I said, no problem. He didn't know what that means in Ghana, right? So he hired me. And every time I had to travel, I had to hire someone. This guy never knew for about 6 months that I didn't know how to drive, or at least I didn't have a UK driver's license, so I couldn't drive. And after 6 months, it all sorted itself out. But that's how I started life. I believed, I kept going. All my friends stopped believing. All the jokes they poked at me those days, all the fun. And after 6 months of struggling, dodging my landlord, something happened. And today, that one incident, hanging in that day, is what has brought me here today. Now, this brings me to a topic that I'm very passionate about. I call it our no alternative values. What does this mean? A lot of us here, we write all these lovely CVs and we put values in there. Or we say to people, these are my values. But what I mean by no alternative is there is no alternative to your value. You either have a value that you stick by or you don't have a value. Again, a lot of us have values that we don't stick by. So we don't have a no alternative value. You need to have a no alternative value to be able to stick to your value. It's very expensive. Okay? Last year, I walked away from a $150,000 bonus because what I had to do did not align to my value. I quit my job in Haiti because I couldn't take that money from anyone. It did not align to my value. No alternative. You're going to be faced with issues in life. You're going to be faced with challenges in life. Your values are going to be challenged. You're going to be stretched. And I can tell you something. A lot of you in this room will have to stop and think, should I or should I not? Success without values is not success. And if you really want to make it in life, you need your values to be what defines your limits. So here I say, at the end of the day, you have to believe strongly in something to define your limits. You have to believe strongly in something to define your limits. My values: respect, integrity, humility. Integrity was the value that made me quit my job. There was a cost to it, and that was not the first time. It's happened 3 times in my life where I've walked away from becoming a millionaire or something else, but because of my values, I stayed broke. And today, I'm the happiest person in the world because I have no weight, right? There is 0 weight. And that's how you manage stress at work. 0 weight, okay? So again, my good friend, you're young, you're energetic, you're corruptible. I'll leave you to ponder over this and decide. But I hope that you do the right thing. Nothing in life happens by chance. And for those of you who've seen my TEDx talk from 2015, the entire talk was pivoted around nothing in life happens by chance. I honestly believe that that day when I walked to Electrolux for that interview, I remember when the headhunter called me, I told him, I'm fed up of going for interviews. I don't even have money to go for the interview. And the guy said to me, let's just try this last one. And I said, look, I am really tired. I've gone for all these interviews and I got no job. But I'd prepared. I'd been to so many of them that I was very ready to actually go and demonstrate my skill set. I was fed up. I had borrowed money from all my friends. I couldn't go back and borrow again. And then a lady called Fafa, I called her up and she gave me 20 pounds and I went for that interview. But you know, she believed that I'd put in so much effort that something was going to happen. Something was going to happen if she helped me get to that interview. And there were a number of people along the way that just poured their heart out to help me. When I got the job, I couldn't travel, I couldn't rent a place. People contributed to help me get started because they believed. They had seen somebody who expresses values so strongly, somebody who wanted something so much that it even influenced them to help me when they had nothing. They had very little. These were students, and they took some of their student loans and helped me get started in life. If you really believe in something, and if you really believe nothing happens by chance, then the things you do on a daily basis all accumulate to that end result. And a lot of the times we talk about luck, we talk about being at the right place at the right time. You can't be at the right place at the right time without preparation. You can't be at the right place at the right time without preparation. And the more you prepare, the more you define your destiny. It doesn't happen by chance. You have to put in something. Sacrifice is a fundamental investment for entitlement. I get young people who come to my office or who bump into me, and they have this sense of entitlement. I have graduated from this school with this degree. I'm a smart kid. Look at my grades. You have to give me this opportunity because I deserve it. Entitlement. Okay? And in today's world, with technology, with everything happening, the sense of entitlement is just growing. But the sense of sacrifice is fading away in the background. But I put entitlement in inverted commas here. Because until you've sacrificed enough, you haven't invested for entitlement. And entitlement in quotes, because at that point it's no longer entitlement, but it's a reward for your sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long road. I was talking to someone yesterday at breakfast, and he said to me, there never seems to be the right time to do anything. You just have to be ready. And I understand. I just received one of Albert's books. But I think from what the MC was saying before, we talk about readiness. And the question today is, as a young graduate, seeking to explore all the opportunities that are out there in the world, the opportunities have changed. In my days, I was looking for people who could bind things, people who could print, people who could count paper. All these jobs are gone. Machines are doing them now. The skill sets we need in life are very different. And if I take where Kofi took us, he took us to 2025 and 2035, we start to think, what do I need to be relevant 10 years from now? And what do I need to do today so that when that relevance hits, I am ready to take advantage of it? Opportunity versus opportunism. You have to prepare, you have to be ready, but you have to see it from a distance and you have to prepare for it. So I'm going to leave you with my final quote here, which is, what is each of you doing today to be ready? You're going to get opportunity. You're going to fight for entitlement without sacrifice. Do you want it enough? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.